Hello everybody, how are we all? Hope you're all doing really well. You joined me on a Sunday afternoon / evening. This video is going to be a very exciting one because this is our take on a vegetarian roast dinner. Having recently gone vegetarian myself, I absolutely love roast dinners, but obviously a roast dinner is usually centered around roast meat, is it? Roast meat. It's usually roast vegetables and roast meat. Obviously being vegetarian, I'm going to try and have to adapt it. The only thing I'm really adapting that isn't actually vegan would potentially be the Yorkshire Puddings. Everything else is vegan. We put some like Aldi puff pastry parcels. We are skipping a little bit, but everything else is going to be roasting from scratch. So we're going to do like roast potatoes, cauliflower cheese. Oh yeah, that's not the other vegan thing as well. Cauliflower cheese, roasted leeks, some baby carrots. We're going to be making our own Yorkshire puddings, doing a caramelised onion gravy, all that good stuff. So yeah, let me run through everything you're going to need. And me and Zara are going to get cracking because we're hungry. Let's go. And if you are new here and you haven't already subscribed, it would mean the world if you do. There's loads of recipe videos coming very, very soon. And always, if you do enjoy the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Right, let's go. Okay, so for the veggies, we've got an array of things going on. We've got some carrots here. These are little baby tiny carrots. We're not even going to bother peeling them. Just going to give them a bit of a wash, parboil them, and then roast them in some honey and mustard. I've got 3 potatoes here that we're going to peel, and they're going to be roast potatoes, some broccoli that we're going to steam, cauliflower that we're going to steam, and also make a cauliflower cheese. We've got some rosemary, which is going to go on the roast potatoes, a leek, which we're going to roast as well, and a little bit of olive oil, parsnips that need to be roasted in some honey and mustard, and 1 red onion for the gravy. But we've also got some gravy left over from a roast we did a while back that we're going to defrost and use as like a base. And then in terms of dry things you're going to need some vegetable oil for the Yorkshire puddings, olive oil to roast the carrots in, some pepper, 2 vegetable stock cubes for the gravy along with these, which are onion gravy granules suitable for vegetarians, some rock salt, some honey and mustard for the parsnips, plain flour for the Yorkshire puddings, and you're also going to need some milk and eggs, but I haven't got those out yet. Right, let's get cracking.
So the first thing me and Zara did was peel some potatoes. Now we just used classic potatoes here, and you can keep the skins on if you want. Then I rinsed the little baby carrots and just made sure they were nice and clean and free of any dirt. Then it was time to start the gravy. So I am using red onions because caramelized red onions is one of my favorite things of all time. And all I do is just finely slice them. You can of course use a food processor if you'd like to, but I find like this is the best way to do it. Then it was time to do the parsnips, and I'm not going to lie, Zara's knife choice probably wasn't the best here, but basically you want to peel and top and tail the parsnips and then halve them and halve them again. And as you can see, I'm pointing out the root part of the parsnip. A lot of people don't take this off, and I just do because I feel like it's a little bit chewy sometimes, a little bit hard wearing. So I'm just using a knife and basically taking the inner out. Now it's time to start on the gravy. So with a bit of olive oil into a pan, I'm adding the red onions and turn that on to around like a medium heat, just to get them nice and soft to start off with. You don't want anything too high, otherwise they will burn. Now it's time to start on the leeks. So again, I'm just toppling and tailing the leeks, disregarding those. And then you can halve the leek and then rinse it under a tap. And then I am just finely slicing them here, nothing too fancy at all. And these are just one of my favourite things on a roast dinner. Not a lot of people do roasted leeks, but I absolutely love them. Then it was time for the roast potatoes. So I asked Zara just to chop the potatoes up into like, fairly good sized chunks at different angles. And then what we're doing is just popping them into a pan with some boiling water, and we're going to parboil them. And I do season my potatoes when they boil just because I feel like it helps. So yeah, you want to boil them for around 10 to 15 minutes until they start to soften. Now it's time to turn your attention back to the gravy, so the onion should be starting to soften nicely. And then I add a good splash of red wine. You can use red wine vinegar if you don't have red wine at hand, but something to help give it a bit of acidity. Now it's time to turn our attention to the parsnips, cauliflower, carrots, and broccoli. So I do parboil all of my vegetables before I put them in the oven. I just feel like it helps them cook rather than being in there too long and they can like catch and burn. So we give everything a little rinse, and we separated the carrots and parsnips into one pan and the broccoli and cauliflower into another. And then you can see the gravy is starting to caramelize beautifully. Those onions have gone lovely and soft. Now I add 1 stock cube into the gravy pan and just let that dissolve. And then I add some recently boiled kettle water. You can of course use the vegetable water left from the veggies if you want to do that, but I just wanted everything to be going as soon as possible, so yeah. Then I added the chopped leeks into a roasting tin, and I added a bit of salt and pepper and some olive oil. And yeah, we'll roast these for about half an hour at 180 degrees. And I also added some fresh rosemary stalks as well. These give an amazing flavour. Now it's time for the dish for the roast potatoes. Now you're going to need a lot of olive oil for this. This is the fat that I'm using. You can use goose fat or butter, but I just added some salt and again some rosemary tips. And then what I do is pop this directly into the oven, and you need this to get really, really hot. The hotter the oil, the more your potatoes will crisp up. So now the potatoes have had about 10 minutes in total. What I do is drain them, give them a little bit of a fluff off in the colander, and then I put them back into the pan and just toss them, I'd say like maybe twice, 3 times, just to basically give them a little bit of more of a surface area, so those little gnarly bits at the end will start fluffing up. And then I just drained off the carrots and parsnips. Again, they had about, I'd say like 8 minutes in total, not long at all. You don't want to cook them, you just want to get them going. I popped them into a roasting dish and I drizzled over some honey. If you are making this vegan, you can of course use maple syrup. And then I added some mustard powder, and there's something about honey and mustard that just works and it's delicious. And then I added some cracked black pepper and some extra virgin olive oil. This just stops them from sticking to the roasting tin, and I pop them in the oven as well. Now I took out of the olive oil, and this is going to be extremely hot, guys, so do be careful. I added the potatoes straight into the roasting tin, and as you can see the olive oil is bubbling. So you want to give them a little bit of a shake just to ensure that they're all coated in the oil, and then basically you want like an even layer of roast potatoes. If you overcrowd the tray, they won't roast up, and then they need to go back in the oven with the leeks. I turned the oven up to about 210 degrees and they need to roast for a good solid 45 minutes. Now I just drained the cauliflower and broccoli, and it was time to make the cauliflower cheese. Again, an absolute essential. I'm using 2 types of cheese. I'm using double Gloucester and cheddar. You can of course use whatever cheese that you'd like. You can use vegan cheese if you'd like to. So into a pan I'm adding about 50 grams of melted butter, and this just needs to melt away. Don't have the pan too hot. Then I added 2 tablespoons of plain flour, and then what you want to do is cook this off. This is what you call a roux, and you just want to cook the flour out. If you don't do this enough to make like a paste as I am here, it'll taste really floury at the end. Then I added around, I'd say like 800 mils of milk. I'm using semi-skim milk here because we ran out of almond milk, but of course you can use oat milk or any dairy-free milk. Then you just want to add sufficient amount of milk so it goes nice and smooth. I start off with a spoon and then use a whisk. And then Zara's added some cracked black pepper and around a teaspoon of mustard powder. You can of course add nutmeg as well, which is really good. Now it's time to add your cheese. So this is your roux, and then it becomes a cheese sauce. So we use cheddar and double Gloucester, like I said, around 100 grams in total. And then I just added in the cauliflower, give it a little stir, and then pop that into another roasting tin. And as you can see, it looks amazing. And then I topped it with even more cheese because cauliflower cheese has to be cheesy. It's a rule. And I popped that into the oven for around half an hour. Now these are the veggie spinach, cheddar and leek parcels that we got from Aldi. Of course, I mean, you can class this as cheating, but they are delicious. So we just checked the parsnips and carrots to make sure they were good, added a little bit more olive oil just so they didn't stick. Now it's time to check the potatoes, and look at these guys. They look so good. This is like, I'd say 20 minutes away from being perfect. They're starting to go a little bit brown at the edges, which is amazing. And now no roast would be complete without some Yorkshire puddings. Now I know a lot of people don't really make their own, but I do. They're so easy and they taste 10 times better. So into a bowl, I'm gonna leave all of the measurements down below. I added plain flour, 2 eggs and 100 mils of milk. And then I whisked all of that together into a bowl to make a nice smooth batter. And then I transferred that back into the glass measuring jug and popped it in the fridge. Now this is an important step. It has to be cold, otherwise they won't work. Then I just popped the pastry lattices into the oven, and now with timings with a roast, it all has to be cooked at the same time, so they take about 20 minutes in total. Good tip for the Yorkshire puddings as well, this is just vegetable oil. If you use a muffin tin and fill them about 3/4 full, and then do what I'm doing here and tip the oil downwards, it adds an even measure of oil into every single part of the whole. And that needs to go into the oven as well to preheat, I'd say for around 15 minutes. Now I take everything out of the oven because the oven's got to get whacked up to the highest temperatures. So take the carrots out, the parsnips, the leeks, the potatoes, and now look what I'm doing. So the oil is absolutely bubbling hot and Zara's filling the muffin tin with the batter mix. This makes the best, fluffiest Yorkshire puddings ever. She made about 5 here. It could make 6, so I was a little bit generous at the start, but they are gonna work. I also took the cauliflower cheese out, and as you can see, it is looking incredible, and oh my god, I'm so excited. And then it was time to pop the Yorkshire puddings in the oven, and they came out after around 20 minutes, and look how much they puffed up. They look absolutely incredible. I'm so happy with them. And that's it, guys. Now it's time to plate up. So we just took the pastry lattices out of the oven, added some lovely steamed broccoli, and then just added everything else. So we've got the roasted parsnips and carrots here. The honey glaze makes them so good. This is how the gravy turned out, beautifully thick with those caramelized onions. Then it was the roast potatoes, arguably my favorite part of the whole entire roast. I love roast potatoes. And then we added the roasted leeks as well, which just give a lovely sweet taste as well. Oh god, time for the cauliflower cheese. This is just delightful. One of my favorite parts of a roast. I know I've said that about everything. Super cheesy and so rich. And then Zara was just adding the Yorkshire puddings into a Yorkshire pudding tower. They were huge. And that's it, guys. That is our easy vegetarian roast dinner. So cheap, so quick to make, and absolutely delicious. And look at those roast potatoes. Oh, so good. I'm so happy with how this turned out. It's my first vegetarian roast dinner, and I am so happy.
This is our first ever vegetarian roast dinner, and it is absolutely delightful. Like I say, we didn't really make the puff pastry parcel ourselves, however, I'm sure it's going to be delicious. Zara's cutting into hers now.
Yeah, I just remembered.
Oh my god, the cauliflower cheese is sensational. This is like a proper traditional British Sunday dish, complete with Yorkshire puddings from Yorkshire, and they're huge. They turned out so well. Oh, so excited. If you do want to follow the recipe for this, I'm going to be writing it all out down below. I haven't really followed the recipe, I've just made this because I do make roasts probably more times than I actually should. But yeah, film this on the Sunday. Nothing better and a glass of wine. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to hit subscribe. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and let me know what your favourite roast dinner component is. Mine's definitely roast potatoes. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you soon. Bye!